Hello, I'm Whalley, welcome to Lenscraft. Today I'm going to explain 3 ways to add a creative border to photos using the Nik Collection. And in case you're wondering, you can still get the Nik Collection for free. I'll include a link to the details of how to do that in the video information below. The first option for adding a border is using Nik Silver Effects Pro. If I launch Silver Effects Pro, you can see a section called Finishing Adjustments. The most obvious option to add a border is in the section called Image Border. Here you have 14 creative borders that you can add to the image. As you move your mouse over each one in the list, you'll see a preview of that border. Types 13 and 14 are simple black and white borders, but the other borders are more creative and imitate some of the traditional fine art techniques from the darkroom. When I pick one of these borders, I then have some control over it with the other sliders. The size slider controls the size of the white border edge around the image. The spread slider then controls how far into the image the border spreads. You can use the clean and rough slider to smooth out the jagged border effect or to make it rougher. You also have a vary border control below these. This uses a 4-digit number to create a random border effect. Clicking the vary border button just generates a new random number. You can also enter numbers directly into the field. The other option that you might want to use with your border is burn edges. Whilst this isn't really a creative border, it can add nicely to the effect. Just remember that you're controlling each of the edges independently. So that's it for border options in Silver Effects Pro. But what if you don't want to convert your image to black and white? The first alternative we'll look at is in Nik Color Effects Pro. Here you'll find a filter to add an image border. Again, there's a drop down with the borders, and you'll probably recognise the layout and controls from Nik Silver Effects. We have the same 14 borders that we can add, but without converting the image to black and white. The controls are also the same as in Nik Silver Effects, but there's one additional feature that I want to discuss. In Color Effects Pro, we can use control points with the opacity slider to selectively fade the border. By using the overall opacity slider, you can control the border's transparency. In addition, you can use control points to make localized adjustments to the opacity. For example, I could use a negative control point to hide the border in certain areas. Then, in other areas, I could make the border appear at full strength using the plus control point. Now let's look at another powerful option for adding a creative border to an image. You'll find this in Nik Analog Effects Pro. Now, Analog Effects was a new Nik plugin created by Google after they bought the Nik Collection from Nik Software. Because of this, the interface is a little different to the other plugins. You can use Analog Effects to simulate film effects, although the defaults are quite severe. Over on the right side, you see the different types of adjustment you can apply to an image. Whilst over on the left side, you have the different tool combinations you can use. To create the border, I'll use the camera kit, where I can select my own effects. Now, I don't need any of the adjustments from this other than the frames option, so I'll remove the others. In the frames section, I have 3 sets of borders or film edges I can select with the drop down. For this example, I'm going to use the film strip group. I can now pick the border that I want to apply. Whilst there are a lot of film edges here that you can use, you don't have much control over them. All you can do is scale them to make them larger or smaller using the slider. If you find you use a border frequently, you can save it as a custom preset, making it easy to add in the future. Just be aware that selecting a preset will replace any other adjustments you've added in Analog Effects. Whilst there are limitations to these methods for adding a border, they are still very useful. I hope you found this useful. I'm Robin Whalley, you've been watching Lenscraft. I'll see you soon for another video.